What is going on, YouTube? I'm Lamont at large. Today, I am at the George Washington Memorial Park Cemetery here in Paramus, New Jersey. And I'm here to visit the grave of absolutely one of the greatest singers of all time. And that, of course, is Luther Vandross. Luther. Now, you know, when I say that name, there's only one man that I'm talking about. And that is, of course, Luther Vandross. Luther was born April 20th, 1951 in New York City, New York. Well, Manhattan to be exact. He was born to Mary Ida and Luther Vandross Sr. His mother was a nurse. His father was an upholsterer, and he was also a good singer in his own right. And of course, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It was clearly evident at a young age that Junior was going to be just as good a singer as his dad was, if not better. He also taught himself how to play the piano by ear. Luther sang in church, he sang in school. A very, very excellent singer, to say the least. When he was in high school, he had a high school band called Shades of Jade. And Luther got a little bit of a taste of what it was like to be on stage. They did an amateur night at the Apollo to thunderous applause. He later went on to school, but stopped it because he said, you know what, I'm a singer. I'm just going to go full force with it. It was his dream to be a famous singer. And he said, forget about school for now. I'm going to go full force with my singing career. And he got very popular. Of course, before getting popular as a singer that we all know, he was a very popular backup singer for a lot of very famous singers, amongst them being Chaka Khan, David Bowie, Sister Sledge, Donna Summer, Diana Ross. I'm probably forgetting other names, but he was very, very in demand as a backup singer. And he was already, before he was even very famous, he was already making pretty good money being a backup singer for those people that I mentioned. Also, he did a couple of television commercial jingles for Burger King, Mountain Dew, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, hey, if you were around in the late 70s and that commercial came up and somebody was singing, it was probably Luther. Other than being a very famous singer, he was also a very talented producer. He produced Aretha Franklin's comeback album, Jump to It, in the early 80s, which went gold. And he also produced her follow-up album, Get It Right. Very talented producer and songwriter that people don't give him credit for that, because he's such an amazing talent when it comes to singing, that people also don't really know that he was a piano player and just a producer in general. Now, his life did not escape controversy. Now, a lot of you may not know this story, but tragedy kind of hit his life, and also the life of somebody else, much more so than Luther's. So back in the mid-'80s, if you remember, there was a television show called Star Search. Does anybody remember? 3 3/4 stars, 4 stars, 2 2/3 stars, or whatever the star system was. It was hosted by Ed McMahon. I used to watch it as a kid. And there was a teenager that was on that show by the name of Jimmy Salvamini. And he's a pretty good singer. And he was on Star Search, and Luther seen him on Star Search, and he said, hey, this kid sounds pretty good. I think I'd want him to sing on, some of my music, or maybe he wanted to get him started on his own career. But he definitely wanted to work with him. So they met up in California, and, Luther was, showing him songs, showing him how he wants to sing the songs. And I believe he basically pretty much wrote Jimmy's album that was supposed to come out. Hey, you're a teenager, you're a good singer, good looking kid, you're in Hollywood, you're working with one of the most talented singers of all time. What could possibly go wrong? Well, unfortunately, on the night where Jimmy was hanging out with Luther Vandross, and of course Jimmy, who was being managed by his brother Larry, They were driving in Luther's 1985 Mercedes-Benz convertible. They were driving down Laurel Canyon Boulevard. If you don't know that street, it's basically a very windy road that goes from West Hollywood to North Hollywood. It cuts up through the mountains. And they were driving down that road, and all of a sudden, Luther loses control, veers into oncoming lane, and crashes head on with a car. He spins out, hits another car. Tragically, Jimmy survived with relatively minor injuries, but Jimmy's brother Larry was killed in the accident, and Luther Vandross was very seriously injured. He broke a couple ribs, and he broke his hip. And I don't know how many people out there have ever dealt with a hip injury, but it is one of the more debilitating injuries to come back from. But never mind that, a young man, Larry Salvemini, lost his life in that accident. And of course, eventually, going through all the court proceedings, Luther eventually pled to reckless driving. He lost his license for a year, and that has always been somewhat of a, I don't want to call it a stain, but that's always been a mark on his career. His family later sued Vandross out of court, and that's how things with that story wrapped up. I don't want to end this video with a tragic story because Luther led an incredibly wonderful life, even though it was marred by a little bit of tragedy. Let me tell you personally how much of a talented singer he was. During the Michael Jackson 30th anniversary television special, I was watching that quite some time ago. And of course, they were celebrating Michael Jackson's 30 years in music. And 98 Degrees, in case you don't remember, that was one of those boy bands back in the 90s. So 98 Degrees comes out to sing Man in the Mirror, right? Now, these guys, they're okay singers in their own right, you know what I mean? So they're singing, Man in the Mirror, and then Usher comes out. Usher's a pretty good singer too, very talented, good dancer. He starts singing as well. So they're all singing, and then Luther comes out, and boy, everybody went absolutely crazy. Everybody went bonkers, and let me tell you something. 98 Degrees, okay, sure, whatever. You know what I mean? They're really just pretty faces in hot bodies or whatever. Usher is a very good singer. He's a very flashy guy, very, very good dancer, very talented entertainer. Luther is as far a better singer than Usher is than me. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still on YouTube. Go look that video up. It's not even close how much better Luther Vandross was a singer than anybody on that stage, and practically everybody in the audience. Of course, except Michael Jackson, but hey, that's even debatable. So sadly, on April 16, 2003, Luther Vandross, he suffered a very, very severe stroke, and he was in the hospital. He actually almost died right then and there. He was in a coma for almost 2 months, and eventually he came out of it. But after that stroke really messed up his singing, him being able to walk properly, to talk properly. There was an interview with Oprah that Luther Vandross was on before he died. It's a very sad interview. It's a very horrible interview because Oprah was just asking him a bunch of asinine questions. And, if you want to go look at it, go ahead. I was not a fan of that interview. And sadly, from complications from that stroke, Luther Vandross, he passed away on July 1st, 2005. And, we lost a just an immensely talented individual, to say the least, and there will never be another Luther Vandross ever. So we're gonna round this corner right here, and I'm gonna show you his grave. And here he is, the legend himself. He's interred in the mausoleum here. Luther Vandross, April 20th, 1951 to July 1st, 2005. 54 years old. That's, I say this constantly. As I get older, it's always amazing when I come back to famous people how young they died. How absolutely young they died. So coincidentally enough, and I don't know if this was that he wanted to be put here, but if you look up right there, that name, that is Sylvia Robinson, and she was the founder of Sugar Hill Records. I believe it is a rap or a funk label that was founded, I believe, in the 70s. And her sons are buried right here. They were also part of the family business. Sugar Hill Records, Rondo and Joseph Robinson right there, if you can see. But, he had a couple songs that I loved, Never Too Much. That was his first big album, and that song, Never Too Much, was probably his most famous song. But of course, The Power of Love, Here and Now. My favorite song of yours was Stop to Love. Hey, if you're watching this video right now, as soon as it's done, put that song on. That is a great song. That is a great song. You don't even have to like R&B music to like that song, to love that song. I love Stop to Love. Rest in peace to an absolute legend, Luther Vandross. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you for watching my video. I always appreciate it. Always appreciate it. God bless. I will see you on the next vlog. And you know what? Big Luther, little Luther, we all love Luther. All love Luther.